ready? It's the Roundtable with me, Robert Bannon.
Well, do not adjust your televisions, YouTubes, Facebooks. I'm here. I'm really here. We are really here, and it is on a Tuesday. It is not Thursday, even though I wish, maybe you wish it was a Thursday too. Hi, everybody. My name is Robert Bannon, and you are here for a very special edition of the Roundtable. Are you ready? Yes, you may have heard a lot of sounds like that because we're in the middle of election season and we are a month away pretty much from the election for the next president of the United States. And that's why we try not to get super politically here. We don't talk too much about who to vote for. We don't talk too much about politics because we try to be the refuge from politics. We try to be the spot and the place where you can take a break, especially in Michigan. If you think, I'm sure Christina in North Carolina, a little bit for our lattes in Maryland, Jersey and New York do not have anywhere near the amount of political commercials that are here in Michigan as the swing state that it is. You can't watch a YouTube video, you can't turn on the radio or the television without getting, Donald and Kamala thrown in your face. But here, we don't talk about a lot of politics because it's about art. Art and art. Are we still frozen? We're frozen? Oh, my Lord in heaven. Why are we frozen? Hold on. Let's see if we could leave and come back in. There. Don't go anywhere. I'm leaving. I'm coming back. Maybe we're back. Is this better? Yes? You see me? Okay, so we're here. So, but anyway, we have a brand new show today for a Tuesday because I've been doing so many interviews and I've been so lucky. And then I asked if the mayor of Baltimore would be here. And the mayor of Baltimore said he would be here. So the mayor of Baltimore is going to be here. I wanted to tell you a little bit about why it's important to me. If you may not know this about me, but there's no sound. I hear sound coming from the other room. And now it's janky again. What is going on today? Well, you're getting sound, but a grainy picture. Well, we may have to move closer. We'll move closer to the Wi-Fi or we'll open the door. Welcome to the house. Weird. So we are gonna go this way. Is it better over here? Maybe. Thank God the house is clean. The house is always clean here because he's very timely and clean. Is it better? No? Well, somebody's gonna tell me if it's better. Maybe. There's a delay. I don't know why our Wi-Fi is given such a hard time. It says the connection is unstable. If you're on Wi-Fi, plug in your router or move closer to it. I did move closer to it. Blurry, still not much difference. Hold on. We'll figure this out, team. We're gonna have to edit this a lot. So this is better. Ooh. We can do it. I'll do it by my phone to do an introduction, but I don't know how to make it better. All right. Well, you're going to get me like this. Hi, everyone. Let's start this over again. So when I edit this, it'll be much better. And then we'll go to the other room so that I can play the video when it's time to play the video. Oh, now it's perfect. So it's my computer. That's good. Is it Amazon Prime Day still? Does anyone have $1,250?
because we don't. We gotta figure this out. I'm going back in, everyone. What is going on? It's better. Oh, my mother. Oh, now everyone's a critic. No, I'm kidding. I'm just a joke. All right. Woo. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Roundtable. My name is Robert Bannon, and thank you for dealing with us as we technically difficult ourselves through this entire show. I'm excited that you're all here for a Tuesday. It's a very special edition of the Roundtable. It's a serious topic, and we're talking about gun violence in America. And we have the mayor of Baltimore here, Brown and Scott, and we also have the filmmaker Gabriel Goodenough, who is going to be making this film called The Body Politic that's coming out. Lattes can watch it in Maryland, and you all can watch it when it's streaming. And it's about how the mayor of Baltimore started to make a documentary. Everyone says it's better. Okay. Hey, whoop, 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 whoop. So he started to make a documentary about, and my mom's here, and I see Abby's here, and Alyssa's here, and we got it, and it's perfect. Now, hi, Cleo's daddies, and hi, husband, and hi, mom. So we have with us this great interview that we did. So also, I wanted to say that Baltimore is something that's very important and special to me because when I was growing up, and you could ask my mom, I got very sick, and I got Lyme disease, chronic Lyme disease caused undiagnosed and mistreated for over a year and then turned into encephalitis, swelling of my brain tissue, swelling of my optic nerve. And at that time, Baltimore was the only place that would do hyperbaric oxygen treatment to get full oxygen to try to kill any of the disease in my body. And people thought me and my mother and my father and my family were crazy because they didn't believe that this was real. But it literally saved my life. You can still see the scar tissue and the stretch marks from blowing up from all the prednisone they put on me, high Fran, and all of that. So Baltimore is where we were for 3 years, back and forth. My mom, my grandmother, and me spent 1 month in a hotel, and then we'd come back for a weekend and go back and forth and back and forth. And my father came down once, and we got robbed. Our car got robbed. We lived in Baltimore and knew Baltimore like the back of our hand. We would go from everywhere from Fort McHenry to Felt Point to the Little Italy section of Baltimore to baseball games to football games. So Baltimore feels like a part of my heart growing up from the age of 13 to 17. We spent time there. I do a lot of shows about health, especially when we do shows about HIV/AIDS awareness, because a lot of the people who were in the hyperbaric oxygen chambers with me when I was a kid, and Darius says hi, Aunt Fran too. And there's our Maryland owned lattes. I would be with them, and they were doing these hyperbaric oxygen chamber treatments to get better and do experimental treatment then, just like I was doing it. So I was exposed to the power of medicine and the power of trying new things back then. Speaking of trying new things, we all need to try new things. This show was messy, and I had this show so planned, everyone. So I'm sorry. I feel I'm wor- I'm sorry about how it went. This show is specifically about gun violence in America. And I was thinking all day about what I wanted to say. In my classroom today, and in classrooms across this country, we have lockdowns, we have active shooter drills, which is so scary for us all as teachers and as students. If you've never seen a student scared and ask you, is this a real drill or is there a shooter in the building? If you've ever had kids who have threatened each other with violence, physical violence, never mind with weapons, and had to break them up or talk to them or mediate or see what happens to kids who fight with violently and threaten each other with weapons, then you know that this country has a severe problem. If you pick up the news and you see a mass shooting in this country against any random person, if it's a place of worship, if it's a public place, if it's a restaurant, if it's a mall, if it's a concert, then you know, a school, obviously, that this country has a problem. I knew this country had a problem when we decided as a country that when Sandy Hook happened and they went in and killed kindergarten students and no gun laws were passed, not one by the Senate, by the House of Representatives, nothing signed by the President of the United States, I knew that this country had a problem. So I know for us, we know a lot of stats and statistics are thrown at us often in this country when we watch the news. And sometimes it's too hard for us to hear because it makes us sad and we choose to live in a bubble. I grew up in a bubble. I didn't grow up in a house in our school where people brought guns. I was never threatened with violence. I'd see it on the news and say, wow, that's terrible that that's happening somewhere else to someone else who's not me. But it's gotten too bad. It's always been bad and it's getting worse. because we don't make common sense solutions. So I'm not telling you who to vote for, and I'm not telling you what you should do other than just go out and vote. But I think there are things that in this country that we've become so partisan about that we shouldn't be. There's common sense solutions that we could all agree. No one's taking anyone's guns. We just want our kids to go to school safely. We want people to be able to go to a football game or a concert and not be worried. We want people to be able to go to church and not be worried, or the movie theater. There's common sense solutions that we've got to make. So I know there's crazy things going on in the world today. We shout out to everyone in Florida. We hope everyone's staying safe with the hurricane. They've just been pounded with another hurricane. That's another common sense solution. We should be working towards fixing global warming, fixing the way that our Earth's heating up. But we fight about it in this country because politics equals money and money equals people's lined pockets. So shout out to everyone in Florida. We send prayers to you all as we have this conversation. This was taped prior to the hurricanes. This was taped over a week ago. So we don't make mention of it because it was taped before, but we're sending our love to everybody that we know down there in Florida. So here's some statistics for you in case you did not know. Shockingly, 1 in 5 people in the United States of America say they have had a family member killed by a gun, including suicide. That's 20%. So if you are sitting in a public place, next time you go to Starbucks, next time you go to Dunkin' Donuts, next time you go to the diner, look around. There's 20 people there. That means that there's 4 families statistically that have been affected by gun violence in this country. In this country, from people, children, age 0 to 14, killed by guns in developing countries. In the world, people, 87% of children are from the United States. The entire rest of the world only accounts for 13%. We have 87% of the gun deaths from 0 to 14 years old in the United States of America. So when you go on television and you hear people talking about people coming from other countries with bad genes and bringing violence, we have a problem here that we refuse to address. In the United States, guns account for all of those white children there. The blue is cancer, and the gray is other diseases. Gun caused deaths in children is the number one leading cause of death in children in the United States of America. We should be ashamed of ourselves in this country. And finally, children or teens are more likely to die in a shooting than a car crash. In 2020, there were 4,300 children who died because of guns, an increase of 29%. That number has gone down in 2022 and then down in 2023. And the things like the mayor is doing is what makes the difference. It's what makes the difference in this country about, see, lattes, I'm telling you, that's how I was. Mind blown. And Danny lives in Canton. How great is that? Mind blown by these statistics here in this country. So, what I've also found out is that as the numbers have gone down, a lot of the work has been done by community policing, not by the police force, but people who go into communities in high risk areas and mediate disagreements between people that live there. Sometimes they're people who have been let out of jail and rehabbed. Sometimes it's people who have lost people in the community. Sometimes it's people who are out here in the streets who just want to help the communities be better. And what Baltimore has found is they've dropped their numbers by so much in this country, and by so much in this country. They've dropped the numbers in Baltimore and they're starting to pick up. Now, the governor of Maryland, as you'll hear him talk about in a minute, was against this, wanted more policing, wanted to increase the police budget, wanted to put more people in jail, wanted to have more police on the streets, wanted stop and frisk to come to Baltimore like it went to New York, where you can be stopped and frisked for no reason. The problem is, a lot of the times you don't hear about gun violence in this country, and a lot of times it didn't make it to my news and it didn't make it to my television screen, is because it's disproportionately in places of people of color. So mainstream media doesn't talk about the killings in Chicago. They don't talk about the killings in Baltimore. They don't talk about the killings in St. Louis. They don't talk about the killings here in Detroit or in parts of New York City. What they do is they focus and sensationalize it, make you afraid, and don't talk about the victims. The victims of this. They'll show you other things that happen in other places, but they don't tell you what's really going on because they don't fix the problem. and the mayor is going to talk to you about it. I want to shout out my in-laws, my fiance, my sister-in-law, my mother-in-law, and their entire family. I dedicate this show on the eve of Javier Nash's birthday. And and my sister is here and she says, "Brother, thank you for helping bring awareness to the cause and effects of gun violence." When it strikes you personally and it strikes people that you love and you see a face and a name and someone that you know, you're never going to think about this issue again. And when you hear politicians say, just get more police officers, just put more guns in schools, just, oh, it's those people that live there. It's not real. There's no solutions. So I want to I want to give a big shout out on the eve of his birthday to Javier. There's him and his mom when he was younger. There's the boys and my Darius. There are real people, real families that don't get their families back because of the violence that doesn't get handled right by government. It doesn't get handled right by gun manufacturers. And the only thing that we can do about it is to speak out about it and go into neighborhoods and speak to people about the importance of peace. You could disagree with me without pulling out a gun. Shout out to my sister who has taken it upon herself to create an organization. And I talk about it, and you're going to hear me repeat it when I show the interview, called Mothers of Murdered Sons, Moms. And it was shocking to me when you talk to her and you read statistics about how many people out there, parents, have lost their kids in the streets. So I felt passionately when I saw this come up, and I was like, we need to do something about this on the roundtable. And the perfect opportunity came about when the mayor of Baltimore, who grew up in Baltimore, who is the swaggiest mayor I've ever seen, because he is not the mayors that I grew up thinking about, decided to sit down with me. So to Javi, this is for you. To my family, this is for you. And to everybody out there, this is a reminder that we need to talk about this and make common sense solutions. We're just having trouble galore here today. Common sense solutions to stop the violence in our streets. I'm grateful that you're here. I'm more grateful that the mayor was here. And I'm even more grateful that after this, we're all going to try to figure out a solution.
So
Take a
our
listen.
next conversation is very personal to me. For 4 years growing up, I was a resident of Baltimore. I was very sick and I moved down to Baltimore to be treated by the first class medical teams that are out there in Baltimore. So from Fells Point to the Inner Harbor to downtown Baltimore, which is where you go when you're driving down the highway to DC, to the inner city of Baltimore. Baltimore is a beautiful city. It is a city of heart and love. And now as a teacher here in Detroit, I was so moved by this conversation because my students in the middle school here at Detroit Lions Alternative School are kids that need to see this documentary, that need to hear what the mayor has to say, because I hear what he's talking about every single day in my classroom. And the shocking statistics, as this Jersey privileged, very naive person who has now seen what it's like to live in these cities and the misrepresentation that we have, I dedicate this conversation to my partner's nephew, Javi, who's an innocent teenager victim of gun violence, and my sister-in-law, who started an organization called Mothers of Murdered Sons, Moms, who are out here trying to talk to moms about rallying behind stopping gun violence in our city. So to have Gabriel here and to have the mayor of the beautiful city of Baltimore here is truly an honor to me. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for having us. Thank you.
How you doing?
I watched this documentary. It was very reminiscent in the beginning. I was like, oh, this is the Cory Booker documentary I watched growing up. This is Street Fight. This is going to be about Mayor Scott's rise. This is going to, and then it takes a turn, an emotional turn, into something that's so prevalent. Was the film what you always sent out to make, or did it make twists and turns along the way?
Hey, this is Gabriel. I'm the director of the Body Politic. That is an amazing question. And Street Fight with Cory Booker, which is an amazing documentary, was one of the inspirations for the film. And we wanted to make sort of Baltimore's version of Street Fight. But very soon after starting the film, the world changed, right? COVID happened. George Floyd was murdered. And we, as a team, decided that the most important thing was to see what change looks like from the inside. So we started following Mayor Brandon Scott through his first year in office. So we essentially ended up with two films. We ended up with this Street Fight Baltimore film, and we ended up with the first year in office. And it was an impossibility to mix the two of them. So the beginning of the film that you see, which is a la Street Fight, is sort of the entry into that world. You know, it's the world pre-COVID, pre-George Floyd, and we see Brandon Scott and why he is interested in becoming the next mayor of Baltimore. But the rest of the film is really what happens once he's in office.
Yeah, Mayor, congratulations on the epic rise that is your career and your beautiful family and what you've done for the city of Baltimore. But when you came in and started this documentary, the ideas that you had were very radical for the state. You're very honest in the conversation you had at the governor of the time. What gave you the courage? How did you know so strongly that you were on the right side of history on this issue?
Well, I think it's a couple of things. One, having lived through all the wrong ways to deal with gun violence in the city, I know that over policing and only policing was not the solution. We needed to really have a comprehensive approach to dealing with gun violence. And also, I'm starting my now 18th year in City Hall. So I came to City Hall at the age of 23 as an intern and now have rise to be the CEO of the city. And I was 23. I'll be 41 on my birthday. But I had a front row seat to seeing all these different strategies and how they were working and not working and all of these other things that we needed to do for our city. So for me, I knew it was the right way because the only way to build and make your city safer is to involve the people who are directly impacted the most, to focus on those who are the most at risk and have this yes and approach to dealing with gun violence, and not a this only approach.
And it's so brilliant, and everybody, when you watch the documentary, I'm trying not to spoil it, but go look up the statistics in Baltimore the past year. The numbers of homicides down below 300 for the first time in 50 years, something crazy.
Not 50, the first time in 9 years. But the truth is, most of my life, and I'm 40, most of the years of my life, we had 300 homicides.
And you know, any homicide is too many.
Yeah.
But the numbers are actually below 200.
Okay.
So I don't know what the statistics are, but it's.
I'm superstitious, so I'll just say that last year's 20% reduction put us at under 300 for the first time since 2015.
Okay.
This year we have a 27% a reduction on top of that. And if we keep the pace that we have, we'll be having historic lows for Baltimore City.
Amazing. Gabriel, you made this documentary
just a few short years after having historic highs. So.
Yes. And that's why I was so moved by it, not only from my own personal connection in my classroom, but being in Detroit. I think Detroit gets the reputation that sometimes Baltimore gets and has a major gun issue in the streets. And the conversation, what moved me so much is when you go to the school and you talk to the young children there, or when you talk about how do you get through, police do not get through to people who are living this life. It's the barbershops, it's the takeout spots, it's who's going to have a conversation with people. I see it in the classroom. They don't want to listen to the teachers. They don't think we relate to them. They don't want to listen to the police officers. The idea that it's an approach is so ahead of its time. So how did you deal with the pushback and how did you assemble this team? You have an incredible group of people who are on the streets that you see in this film that are the heroes of this movie along with you.
Yeah, I think that listen, we call Baltimore Smaltimore. So these are people that I've known for a long, long time, right? So for example, I met Erica through her mom at our local community mediation center way back in 2007. She and I, when I co-led the 300 Men March movement, which was an anti-violence movement in the city of Baltimore. She was one of our organizers, right? So we're like brother and sister. Shantae directed Jackson in the movie. We went to the same high school. She graduated 10 years before me, but we had the same coach. And all of us who ran for Coach Hendricks are always connected because he forced us to be that way. And I know Dante from being a violence interrupter and helping to save, believe it or not, the 2 mayors before me, the mayor was thinking about eliminating safe streets. And as a city council person, I worked to help save it from elimination and built that relationship with those folks.
Well, it's amazing. And you, Gabriel, you have a tough job because you're following the mayor who keeps a busy agenda. You are a Baltimore native. I talked about Felts Point before. You worked on homicide, so you know something about Felts Point as they filmed that show down there. Those are my Baltimore receipts for y'all. What was it like to have access to him? And were there things that that the mayor was uncomfortable sharing in the documentary that ended up being a part of the documentary anyway?
Two good questions. I mean, as a Baltimorean, I've always been interested and involved in the health of my city. So it was an honor to have that inside access to see how difficult it is. But I want to say something that really astounded me that I didn't think of, which is obvious, is that, the lifeblood of cities and any municipality is taxes, right? And if you are cut off from receiving that financial support from a state leader or a federal leader, it makes it almost impossible for you to heal your city, right? So it makes me think about cities like St. Louis, right? And other cities that are in states that might be surrounded by areas that are controlled by politicians that are diametrically opposed to what they're trying to do, right? So I think a lot of it is having the access to what the mayor was going through just really amazed my ignorance in some ways on how this whole thing works and how hard it is, right? In terms of access, there wasn't anything we filmed that I think the mayor was uncomfortable with us showing. He wanted us to show more of, like, we have a lot of basketball stuff. He hit some nice shots that we didn't show and he was not happy about. But the only thing was, I think there was a line of personal, and people ask this. It's like, well, when you're with Tibbs in Stockton, you're with him and his wife. Well, we asked the mayor many times to be able to film in his house, and we 100% respect it. There was a line of what personal and public means, even though, this is a man that lives, eats, and breathes his job in Baltimore City. At least at that time, he didn't have almost three kids. Almost three kids.
So I didn't have a wife then either.
Oh, we didn't have a wife, but it was an amazing learning experience. But really, just seeing how difficult it is just amazing, right? And also just this idea of people are dying in the here and now, and you're trying to save people 10 years from now, or 2 years from now, or 3 years from now, and that the pressure of that, the weight of that, and the frustration.
Absolutely. Well, Mayor, we get to see you from grocery shopping to at the Sprouts to I was going to say the realest, most human mayor potty mouth that I've ever seen, and I live for it in the movie.
There's a lot more potty mouth.
Yeah, I'm very the only thing that I think about when I think about that is that, man, if my grandmother was alive, I would be in all kinds of trouble if she saw me talking like that on camera. Off camera would be a different thing, but she would have. When my grandmother's alive, I had some slip ups in the media, and like she would call me and lay me out. But yes, you did get to see that, but you didn't get to see the basketball or the catch and touchdown passes, which also included a lot of potty mouth. But yeah, that's the only thing that, and I think now, like the truth is, if we were filming this movie now, you probably would get to see the inside of my house, but my world's a lot different than it was then.
Well, Mayor, one of my favorite lines in the movie is what Tater said. What they say, the most gangster shit in the world is forgiveness, and I think about that because at the end of the movie, you break down, and I have this conversation with my partner all the time, who's a lifelong Detroiter, the emotionless or the guardedness that you have when you're in these cities, when you see violence, the trauma that are in my students that are in the streets of Baltimore and in Detroit and all cities across this country. What is the remedy? What is that helps us to break through those guarded walls, to tell people there are other options, there are other ways?
Yeah, I think the first thing, it's about relationships, right? You can't, I say this to people all the time. We've heard so many times and times again, across, whether it's Baltimore, Detroit, St. Louis, New Orleans, Philadelphia, right? You always hear these folks like, oh, we're going to invest in these programs, and we're going to go out to these corners, and we're going to get these young men in a better position in life, right? Now, what I always say to them is, this is the problem with that mindset. You can show up, right? You can show up and be on a corner, et cetera, and telling some young man you're going to get him a job or move him and do all of these things. But if you don't what happens is they come and say, pull your pants up, cut your hair, change the way, stop drinking, stop smoking, stop listening to this music, take care of your kids, all of this. They don't know the basics. What's their name? Where did he come from? What's his family like? That's the number one thing that you have to have is those relationships. And through those relationships, then you can unpeel all of the other things that you need to have here. And we have to be honest about what's needed, right? And so many of these neighborhoods, and I always say this because we are the birthplace. You're talking about Baltimore, the birthplace of racial redlining, right? Like when you're talking about that legacy of what was intentionally disinvesting in these neighborhoods for, at this point, like nearly a century, right? You can't expect the folks there to like thrive if they've been cut off, their oxygen's been cut off. And it's about investing. This isn't about not having accountability because the community itself wants accountability, but it is about meeting people where they are, explaining to them, cutting through all of that and showing them that there's a better way. But that better way has to also mean investment into them and to their spaces.
Which brings me to the point where you were criticized by then Governor Hogan about defunding the police. And you very eloquently in the documentary talk about it's not defunding the police, it's taking money that's allocated to mysterious means or to wherever it's going and putting it into other organizations that are on the grounds. So what are the things that have happened in Baltimore that we can see that other cities have also implemented, because you're on organizations with other mayors to stop gun violence? You've been called to the White House to sit and to talk about gun violence. What are things that you've seen have worked since you've been mayor of the city?
Yeah, first I want to start with the former governor. The funny thing about that is that only one executive in Maryland really cut their police budget, and it was him. He cut the Maryland State Police budget. Which is the irony, but it also tells you the power in media. Malcolm X said that the media is the most powerful tool that they have. They have the ability to make the guilty look innocent and the innocent guilty, right? And I think that's a very intriguing take on that. And like what I did was take $15 million of unallocated funds that not even the police commissioner knew they were spending it on, right? And that's called being financially responsible. But what we've seen in Baltimore, actually, I just yesterday in Baltimore, Thursday, we started our Mayors Against Illegal Guns Summit. I'm actually one of the co-chairs of Mayors Against Illegal Guns. We were all invited down to the White House for the president's executive order around gun violence. The mayors actually got to stay at the White House later after that to watch the Body Politic. They screened it at the White House. And then yesterday, all day, we were in Baltimore meeting. And this tells you how quickly this stuff switches. They were there learning from me about our group violence reduction strategy, where we bring in this approach where we do the data analysis and academic analysis to find out who are the most at-risk individuals to be the victim or perpetrator of violence in our most violent neighborhoods. And we go out to them, as you see in the movie, and give them an opportunity to change their life. And if they don't, then they hear from law enforcement. We know that whether we call it group violence reduction strategy or focused deterrence or whatever you want to call it, it works in cities around the country. And now we're trying to help more, right? That we also know that community violence intervention works. And we've been blessed to put $50 million of our ARPA funding into our CVI ecosystem and grow that, because now we have hospital-based response, because everyone that gets shot goes where? To the hospital. That's the very place you should go to predict retaliation, into the hospital. When you have that kind of work, when you then turn it not just in being to getting into that moment of preventing violence, but also the very needed work of making sure that they can get resources, those kind of things for us. And also focused policing does work, not having them focus on people that are addicted, et cetera, but the flow of guns, the groups of people who are committing violence, and allowing them to focus on that instead of any and every little thing, which is what they want to be focused on too. Because you ask an average police officer, they don't want to be called because someone's husband is cheating on them on Facebook and they want to learn how to block the person. They signed up to actually stop people from harming people in neighborhoods. We have to focus them that way.
Y'all better watch out, because Mayor Scott is coming. And listen, when you move up and out in this world, Mayor, you better remember Gabriel. He better be like the official White House photographer. Just saying. I'm just saying. Gabriel, the film gets very emotional. You see the mayor get very emotional. You see him on the phone with the mother who finds out that her son is not going to be able to is paralyzed, not going to be able to use legs. You see the days that George Floyd, the murderer, is found guilty. You were standing there. You build relationships with the people of the city, with the mayor and the people that were involved in this. How emotional was it for you to film this and to be around the people that you see affected by this movie?
Extremely. And, it doesn't end when the movie ends. Miss Dyson, whose son actually is walking, right? Physical therapy was able to let him walk, and he's physically doing very well. There's still a process of healing. I was just texting with her. So it doesn't end when the film ends. This is my home. This is where I live. This is the city that gave me life. So I will continue to be here. So it's an investment in the community that brought me to this planet. And I want to do anything that I can do to help heal it and make it as healthy as possible.
I love the city. I mean, it's the most beautiful city in the world. I mean, you could go see Babe Ruth's house. You can go to Fort McHenry. You can go eat a crab leg. Whatever you're looking to do, Baltimore has got it for you. And we need to support and love the city. Mayor Scott, I'd be remiss to not say to you, we're in an election year, and I don't know why gun control and gun violence is not a conversation or a law or bills should be across the board, Republicans and Democrats coming together. Why is guns such a politicized issue when people's lives are lost because of this?
Well, I think this is the problem in this country, Robert, and I've said this time and time again. When you think about this country, America, right, and things that have sanctity of American guns is here. The sanctity of American lives of children is here, right? Well beneath of where we are. And we have to get to a point where that flips, right? Because I was in 9th grade when Columbine High School happened, and they said, not one more, right? And we've had hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds, now thousands of more of those incidents. And we all know in inner cities, we have them all the time. And what has happened is, in my opinion, is that one, especially in Congress, because let me be very clear, at the local level, right? Mayors across the country are unified in saying that, like, we need you guys to do something because we're doing everything that we can. We're the ones suing the companies, like I did with Polymer 80, the ghost gun company, and saying, like, no, you can't go around Maryland's gun laws and sell guns to 14-year-olds. You can't do that here, right? But we shouldn't have to do that because the Congress should take that action, right? We're the ones who are taking action about the Glocks, which is I'm actually quote unquote suing the ATF, when it's really not about them, it's about Congress. I'll just tell you this story. So about 60% of the guns that we recover in Baltimore City come from other states, right? My police officers who work for me, I'm their commander-in-chief, go out and recover these guns. They give it to our partners at the ATF, the traced, who can tell the police officers where it comes from, right? But under Congress's ill-advised, idiotic T-Harton amendment, my police officers can't tell their boss where the gun comes from. That is insane, right? And I think that what happens is you have some folks who are so afraid of the gun lobby because they're afraid to lose their job in Congress. They know they're going to come after them. Some folks who still believe in this rhetoric that is based in fear, that is based in sexism, that is based in racism, right? And then you just have this culture where we perpetuate on people that, like, a gun makes you safer, right? And the mayor of Tampa Bay, former police chief, will tell you very clearly, just because you have a gun on you when someone comes to hurt you doesn't make you safer, right? And I think when you're someone like me who's been a victim of gun violence, you know, if I'm coming to rob you, my gun is out, cocked, loaded, off safety, pointed at you. The only thing that's going to happen if you reach for your gun that is holstered and probably on safety is that you're going to get shot, right? And I think that we have to have real conversations about that because I am the grandson of a Republican pig farmer from North Carolina. I learned how to shoot my granddaddy's shotgun when I was 7 years old. I'm not trying to take people's American right to own guns away. But what I am trying to do is have regulation that saves lives, because it should not be easier for me to get a gun than it is for me to buy I have to show my ID to buy allergy medicine at the store. But I can go online and order a gun, right? With nothing. It takes 4 months of training in the military to use the AR-15, but I can walk into Bass Pro Shops in suburban county here and buy one. That's insane. And we need folks to start to really tackle on that. And folks have been pushing. I have to give all praises due to this president and vice president who have done more around guns and gun violence than any in my lifetime. But they can't go much further because Congress won't act, because they are afraid to, for the myriad of reasons that I just said.
Well, I was going to say, I'm affiliated with Broadway websites and movies and television, so I could be as political as I want. Here you are with the president of the United States. Here you are with the vice president. With the vice president of the United States, there is a clear choice when you go and vote in November between the way that these candidates running for president handle and plan to handle. And I think what you just said and the vice president have said very similarly. We're not coming for your guns. We're not coming for against legal guns. She talks about being a gun owner. But that they've narrative in politics has become so warped as to what Democrats are trying to do with gun control. So vote, everybody. So Gabriel, where can we see this? I know it's coming to PBS. It's going to be on PBS apps. I know it's going to be released. So tell us, where can we see this when we want to check out this doc? You have to watch it, everybody.
Okay. Well, there's a number of things that people can do. The very first thing is they can email us, right? They can email us at contact@thebodypoliticfilm.com. Also, in terms of theaters, we're going to be in LA, right? We'll be in LA from October 18th to the 24th. We'll have 2 in-person Q&As on the 19th and 20th at Lamley's in North Hollywood, right? Then we'll be at Howard University on October 22nd. It's a free screening in Washington, D.C. It's in the evening. Again, people can email us to find out more details. And also, we will be on PBS's series POV on Monday, November 21st, or 25th, Monday, November 25th at 10 p.m. Eastern, 9 Central, 10 p.m. West Coast. And you can watch us on PBS then, all PBS apps, streaming, broadcast, TV, everything, old school, new school, will be worldwide or countrywide.
I watched it last night. We were riveted in my house. It was very moving. It moved us all to hear the stories of everybody. At the end, Mayor, when you read the list of victims of and you hear the ages, it's unfathomable that this country allows this to go on. You and your work, now that there's a new governor of Maryland and Governor Moore is there, what has that done to help you get your agenda through and help get the support you need to help the residents of Baltimore?
Yeah, the roadblocks from the state just don't exist anymore, right? We had an issue yesterday with something. I called the governor. He and I talked about it actually early this morning, and I think it makes a world of a difference there at the table. And actually, the irony of how quickly things change. The governor and his team are modeling my group violence reduction strategy to how they're focusing in on young people who are in the juvenile justice system, because everything after the policing and the violence intervention workers actually work for the governor in the state of Maryland. So they are working with some of the same community organizations that you saw to make sure that they're working on the issue in a deep way, an intentional way too, which quite frankly just wouldn't even be thought of with who as the governor.
It's amazing. I hope Mayor Scott and Gabriel, when you come, if you ever come through Detroit, I hope you come speak to my kids, because they need you. They need your role model. They need your inspiration. We all do, because representation matters, and seeing people who have lived the life that they've lived and show a different way is the most powerful tool that these kids can absolutely learn.
We can do it on Zoom. If not, we can set that.
We're in. We need you. We need your inspiration. When you all, it's a tough subject. Lives have been affected. People have lost family members, friends, relatives, but the film feels hopeful at the end. What do you want us to walk away from when we watch this film? What is the silver lining about this issue?
I guess for me, the silver lining, the hope is that there is a better way. This is not an issue that can't be solved, a disease that can't be cured, right? But in order to do it, everyone has to be all in on what works, not what makes you feel better, not what makes you feel safer, what actually makes you safer. And that's the tough part of the work, because you have to, as I said to my brother and sister mayors, like, you, to do this work the right way, you have to ignore the noise, because everyone's going to tell you that you shouldn't do it this way because it won't benefit your political career, because chances are it's not going to start to work that quickly, right? And I think that that's the truth of the, and the hope is that we have a better way that is proven by the numbers. And in the immortal words of Jay-Z, women lie, men lie, numbers don't. And we should follow the numbers, follow the data, follow the community to solving out this gun violence problem.
And Gabriel, your film is beautiful. Your cinematography is beautiful. The way it's edited and put together to tell the story is beautiful. It's a way more entertaining and thoughtful and important film than it sounds. Because on paper you think, oh, it's a political documentary. You're not gonna fall asleep on this movie, Gabriel. You all put together a movie.
Thank you. Thank you. I mean, I just want to hearken what the mayor says. It's it's really about honesty. And I think in the United States, we have a tough time with honesty, right? This is a long-term problem, this epidemic of gun violence, right? So what's been, these solutions have been shown to work for decades, right? This stuff's been around for 40 years, right? Looking at gun violence as a public health epidemic has been around for a long time. And it's worked in a bunch of places. What hasn't been let it work is the schizophrenic nature of the political system, right? So it would be like getting rid of your police department every time you get a new mayor and starting from zero, or just not having one, right? So every city in this country needs to have these long-term solutions, and they shouldn't be at the mercy of who's in office. Mm-hmm. Republican, Democrat, whoever, right? You don't get rid of your police department every time you get a new mayor. These solutions, the way that they are successful and the way that they've been successful in Baltimore is long-term, right? They need to be long-term. They need to stay. And that's really the hope of the film, is that people will see this. The public will see this and say, well, where's a public health approach to gun violence in my city? Where is it? Where's the department? Why is it not happening? And why is it subject to whoever's in office, right? It's not a whim. It's a solution that works.
Amen. That is everybody. That's what we have at stake. And there's change that can happen in this country, and we could save a whole bunch of lives and make a whole lot of trauma and pain and heartbreak around this country go away with some common sense solutions. Mayor Scott, I hope that this is only the beginning, because we'll be following and watching and voting and cheering you on, whatever your next endeavors are through your life, for the city of Baltimore, Maryland, and the United States. Thank you. Gabriel, we want to see more films, more documentaries, more real life out here on these screens. I implore you to please watch. Thank you to the mayor, the way you handled the bridge situation. It's so sad that tragedy is what shows leadership, but the way you stood up in one of the most unfathomable things proves, and what you've done in the city, that you're a godsend to Maryland and to this country. So thank you for what you do.
Thank you very much.
And Gabriel, thank you for getting that camera and being right in the good, the bad, and the ugly. You see it all, and we hope to see a whole bunch more. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Well, there you have it, Mayor of Baltimore. A deep conversation, and thank you for dealing with all sorts of the technical issues that this show ended up being. I implore you to think about what the mayor said, that there is a better way, that there is a silver lining, and there's hope out there that we could stop the trauma and the endless violence that goes on within our cities in this country thanks to gun control. I hope you join me on Thursday for our normally regularly scheduled program. That's right. Lily's White will be here with John Duff. They'll be talking about their new chart-topping single, plus Broadway's leading lady, Isabel McCalla, will be here to talk about so much Water for Elephants, which is on Broadway. Christine says, Robert, thanks for using your Roundtable show platform to bring us a better understanding of the effects of gun violence in Baltimore and our country. Thank you to Mayor Scott. He's a star. And so Darius's mom is here. So hi, Miss Lewis. And I didn't use, she said I pulled a Kamala and I almost cursed, but I stopped myself. Oh my. And my mom is here, and my mom's got a sailor mouth. I want to again shout out to everybody. I'm sending love and prayers I'm sending love and prayers to Javier today. I believe it would have been his 20th birthday. And I know that when you think about the real life effects that go on in this world, and his mom and his uncle and his granny and his grandfather and his brothers and the people that loved him, I know that there's families all across this country who lose people that they love due to the unnecessary violence of guns. I don't think it's a Democrat or Republican issue. It's a people issue. So as I always say, we need to love each other. We need to love on each other, no matter what color, gender, race, who you love, where you live. Let's love each other, because there's so much that makes us alike more than we are different. There is more good than there is bad. And there is more happiness than there is sadness. And there is more love than there is hate. We really just sometimes have to look for it. And more than just having to look for it, sometimes we need to do something about it. So make sure that you vote. Make sure that you practice safety when it comes to violence. Make sure you stop the anger and the cycles of violence and hatred in your house. And let's love hard on one another. Spread love to each other, everybody. God bless you. Thank you so much for being here. I'll see you Thursday when we go back. See, there's my mom. She's saying thank you because she knows she's got a mouth like a sailor. She could be the mayor of Baltimore. This is LOL. Thank you so much, Darius. And thank you all. I hope you all join me on Thursday for a fun time. I'll have a great week in review. I'll have a shameless plug. I'll have a hey friend, hey, and I'll have my favorite things. We'll be back to normally regular scheduled program. But sometimes we just got to take a moment to talk about something serious. Amen. Thank you all so much for being here. I'll see you all again next time. Amazing night. Thank you, lattes. That's my Marylander. Is that what you guys call each other? Marylanders? Marylanders? Marylandigans? I thank you all. The best is yet to come. I'll see you again. Have a great rest of the week. Join me Thursday. No excuses. Bye, everybody. Thanks for being here.